Welcome to week 14 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Perrin. With us is Coach Neese. And Coach, again, you talk about big plays, and we're going to talk a lot about those things. It was an absolute heavyweight slugfest on Friday night. Indians come from behind to win it 28-21 in the regional semifinals, defeating Edgewood. So much to discuss and talk about, but just your overall thoughts of the game. Big win for the Indians and moving forward.
It was, and my thoughts. During the game, it was. It just seemed like that there was a couple things that we'd done that were a little bit more uncharacteristic than us, and that is the fact that we were on the field more on defense than we're used to being, and we were also on the field less on offense than what we're used to. So I think we had some stuff going a little bit, and you can attribute that a lot to the fact that when you're in week 13, you get quality people, and I think Edgewood was no exception, that they were able to move the sticks. Interestingly, they weren't able to move it in chunks. They were able to move it, just piece by piece by piece by piece, putting together a 15-play drive and then an 18-play drive. And then, we make the fatal, mistake of going 3 and out a couple times. And as a result of that, we found ourselves tied at halftime. But I thought our players, rose to the occasion and did well when the time came, and it started to go just back and forth. I think both teams exchanged 3 and outs, and it was kind of not a whole lot going on, so to speak, during the third quarter, and then the fireworks started in the fourth.
Yeah, Coach, let's back up to the first play of the game. First play of the game, they've got possession, they fumble it. We jump on it, and we are able to go and score, and I think in a 7-play drive and take the lead 7-0. That certainly was a real lift for us going into the start of the game, particularly when we're on defense. Yeah,
and that's happened to us before this year. And the scenario, the cases, they fumble or throw an interception, we score, and then we stop them, and we score again, and we stop them, we score again. Next thing it's 21-0. In week 13, that doesn't happen. No, week 13 doesn't happen. You go down and score, and then they answered it with a score, and then it was on.
Yeah, Coach, we talked last week in your show about Edgewood, and they run that wing T, which is just a very methodical offense, and it's just chunks and chunks and chunks, as you talked about. For us, we did find some ways to kind of break that down, and as we get into the fourth quarter, we were down. It was 14-14 and a half, then 21-14. They were up. Before we talked about that fourth quarter, the one thing I got from our sideline was, and this is no surprise, but there was the energy wasn't down. There was no dismay. There wasn't any. There weren't people yelling at one another. It really was a sense of, okay, we're just going to grind this thing out before we get discussion of the fourth quarter.
Exactly, and one of our things that we preach quite a bit, and you see it a lot in sports, and that is somebody gets down, it doesn't go their way, and players use massive amounts of energy to blame their teammates or to scream and complain and yell about stuff when they could be taking that same energy and kind of looking inward and saying, okay, what can I do to be helping? What can I do to make the difference? And use it more, from a positive viewpoint. And I think that's what our players, buy into. Our players buy into the fact that don't make any judgment on anything until 10 minutes after that game's over with. And then, we can sit down and discuss everything that we need to. But when you're in the middle of it, you don't have time to stick your head, up and look around for a while. You got to keep, your, so to speak, oars in the water and keep rolling.
Well, Edgewood certainly felt like they had the momentum going into the fourth quarter. In fact, I can remember as soon as the fourth quarter ended, or excuse me, in the third quarter ended, their whole team and their fans were sticking the 4 up as if we've got momentum going. We went they went a 3 and out. We had the ball with, I believe, 9 minutes, and then we went 3 and out again. And with about 8 minutes to go, we had to punt. And there's really where the game changed.
Well, I think it did. I think it changed on that big punt. I think Trombo got one out there, and that thing blasted off into orbit and came back down and rolled perfectly for us. And I think we got that. And then I think coupled with that, one of the big plays is the first down hold. That all of a sudden they're looking, that negated their normal 5-yard gain. They were averaging 6 yards a gain, every first down, and to put them back like that, and then not have to just rely on that fullback. I think that made a big difference for us.
So the punt, it goes to their own 7. They get a first down, but have to punt, and we get it. And we talked about this the Withrow game, and then again Friday night against Edgewood. Our offensive line really did a great job of creating holes and gaps for Josiah. And yes, Josiah made some great plays, no doubt about it. Yeah. He was the best player on the field. However, that offensive line really made some things happen for him, and the blocking receivers.
Yeah, they did, and they gave him the space he needed, and he was able to get out and get going. And I think that was important. Obviously that we were able to get that drive hitting, and I think they kind of feed off one another. I think once they see him slash through and make an unbelievable play, making somebody miss, I think that pumps up the offensive line, and I think it's vice versa. So I think everybody kind of worked in unison on that particular play.
You could just start to feel the momentum shift at that point. We go in, of course, with just almost under 3 minutes to go. We scored, tied the game up at 21, and really things started to move. Now we kick them off. You talk about the hold play. They were first and 10. Now they hold, and now they're in an offense that really is built to go, like you said, 5-6 chunks of yards. They're really in a tough spot, but I think it was pretty, from my standpoint and watching it, you could feel defensively, we were really getting into the places, and we had made adjustments to their wing tee, and they were getting a little frustrated.
I think they were, and I think the big thing is momentum such a big difference for you, and it was just so hard a couple of those series because the ball was on their side the entire time, on their hash, and they were just running boundary, and the communication was very hard to get to on that particular side, and I think once it was just weird because that last series, the ball was in the middle of the field almost the entire time, and they started off with a hitch and pitch, and I thought we played that well, and then they came back with with their depot pass, two guys running posts, and I thought again we played that well too. So
our defensive backs were ready to go when they did throw it, and I thought it was.
Well, the thing about defensive backs is that our two corners, who had very good games, not doing a whole lot. Our one corner had 1 tackle, and our other corner had 1 tackle, a fumble recovery, and an interception. But otherwise, there wasn't a lot of action for those two guys. They just had to keep the lid on everything, and then Josiah kind of ran the middle on him, so to speak. And he had 9 solos, some of them unbelievable at the line of scrimmage. He was able to come up there and just smack somebody.
Oh, he really did. Well, it was a physical game, and I think our defense was built. When you play against the wing tee, Coach, you told this to me last week, we were built for it. We're a physical defense. You've got to be able to withstand that, but you also have to be able to make adjustments and have guys in skill spots to be able to make plays.
You can, and you also sometimes, and I know there's 2 schools of thought on this, but I think sometimes you got to really resist trying to blitz and a lot, because if you do, you're just going to get picked off because some of the schemes, a lot of the schemes are just down, or they're down and kick out inside like on the trap, and sometimes you're your own worst enemy because you just you get frustrated and you say I got to do something, and sometimes you just have to be a little patient. It's not a bend but don't break type attitude. It's just an attitude. If you fly everything in there, you're going to create more havoc than what you did if you just keep them at bay.
The word that you said was patience. I was just thinking about that because that's really what I started to see in the fourth quarter is their frustration with one another that they were having is we did not bend, and we were not in the spots where they were trying to block us. We were not in those spots, and they didn't have anybody to block at times.
Yeah, and Caleb Lyons did a nice job for us. He'll go down officially as not making a tackle the entire game, but we started moving him over the nose, and that required then those guys to have to double him and sometimes triple him. And I think he made a difference right up there in the middle. He was able in the middle. It kind of slowed their trap game down a little bit and allowed our ends to get up, to get outside a little bit more and work on the buck sweeps a little bit better.
Yeah, our interior defensive line was certainly key, and Caleb was, as you said, he was picking up some triple teams, and I know he was aware of that. But he, along with our other defensive, I mean, there wasn't a guy on our defense side of the ball that wasn't doing their part to make that thing happen.
Yeah, and at some point, everybody, that's the thing about the wing tee, occasionally someone will come off the field and say, man, I'm getting doubled, I'm getting tripled, and I looked at him and I said, so's 3 other guys. What we got to do is we got to make sure that we're getting under those poles, we're getting around those blocks, and, we're getting them filled in the right spot.
Well, Coach, one of the things that we should mention is that one of their key offensive tailbacks had fallen and slipped, and so he was out of the game, unfortunately, for him having to be injured. However, the guy comes in, and after the holding call, then the fireworks really start to get interesting because Sam Smeezing pops the ball out, and Aiden Meyer right there for the fumble recovery.
Definitely, and I think at that point a lot of people were thinking about what's going to happen in overtime.
I guess it was Tanner Kemp. I'm sorry, It was Tanner Kemp.
Yeah, people are thinking about a little overtime action, and all of a sudden that ball comes loose, and we've got an opportunity to say, I don't think so. I think we're ready to roll right now here.
Well, it's interesting. So I was standing beside the media guys, and when we score, they were thinking, we're going for 1, or you're going for 2. Did that ever cross your mind?
No, it did not cross my mind. Well, yeah, obviously it crossed my mind because I had to make a decision. But my thinking was that if we play an overtime game, ball's the 25-yard line, and their fullback is not playing, I like our chances with that rather than just hit it right away. So
we've got a pretty good kicker.
Yeah. So we were more than happy to go ahead. And now if that fullback was still in the game, that would have been a little different scenario because then they're going back to 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, 3 yards, whatever the case may be. So yeah, we were pretty content to get the extra point and then go into overtime if that was going to happen.
So Sam Smeezing gets it. Tanner is able to jump on. I bring up Aiden because he got the first fumble recovery in the first quarter. So now we jump on it, and we are on our side of the field. And at that point now, Coach, now things get to be a little interesting on your end because now you've got to switch to time management because I think there's about 2:30 to go, 2:40 on the clock. Yeah. And how we manage that. What was your thought process in that?
Well, the thought process is there. We wanted to make sure that we scored. I said, I told our coaches, I said let's not get too tricky with let's not leave enough time on the clock and get into all that stuff because I don't want to end up and not have the points or not be in a good position. I said playing against a wing T team, if we give them the ball back with a minute left to go in the game, it's not like it's a spread offense and they're going to be zinging the ball down the field or anything. So again, that played into the whole situation. I said, take our time, do what we have to, score. If we need a timeout to readjust something, take the timeout to readjust something. The other thing I thought that was important is when we had the ball, the second to last timeout we used when we had the ball, the reason why I used it is because we still had an opportunity to get a first down. And so I didn't want to all of a sudden run out of time, but not run out of downs. So I wanted to make sure we had enough time to do all the to convert all the downs. I mean, it's second down. I don't want to sit there and go, oh, wait a minute, we didn't have time to do this. So the key thing for us was the downs, not necessarily the time.
So key point to that, and this is the one that a lot of times you forget about. But when I watched the film again the other day, Josiah, we're in a 3rd and 1, and Josiah just gets enough for the first down, and because. He doesn't get it. Now you're in a 4th down position, and now you have to make a decision of are we kicking a field goal, are we going to go for it? And as you said, you want to get the points.
Yeah, exactly. And I to me, that was one of the key things because I don't think people noticed that he barely got that. And that was, I know a couple weeks ago, a team got the first down on us, and the refs, I was trying to get them to measure it, and they just, boom, go, and that same thing happened there. It was just, so.
There was no measurement,
No.
which obviously they felt like he had it, and they moved on with it.
Yeah.
So we talk about the Josiah, the play that you might look at as the play. He goes down, what appears to be going down, and he is able to get another burst of energy and get him closer, a little closer to the goal line.
Yeah, probably one of his better plays. And he had two great plays on the goal line, one at one end, one at the other end, and he got hit. The first touchdown, down at that other side, he got smacked. And the ball was over, but I'll tell you what, he got hit and that ball went up in the air, and he very rarely, has that happen. And then this down here was just acrobatic, what he did.
Yeah, he has his ability, we talk about, to go north and south and east and west, but his ability to be able to take physicality is pretty special.
It was, and it was kind of weird in a way, because the last time we were at that stadium, we actually beat Wayne, and we scored the winning touchdown. Brandon Sain scored the winning touchdown in that end zone down there, and so that was kind of like a cool end zone for us. I was like, okay. So
funny how all that stuff works all those years later.
Yeah, 13 years later, and we haven't been back at that stadium since. So it was kind of a neat process.
Well, Indians then, of course, we get the score. Bryson Roberts crosses the goal line. Indians go up 28-21. We're up, but there's still time to go. And as you talk about a wing T, they aren't necessarily go long, but you also have to be on guard.
We did, and they have a history of throwing the hitch and pitch. They have a history of throwing a tight end cross that we had worked against vigorously all week. They don't throw it that much, but when they do, it comes wide open. So we had those two plays in our minds. Our secondary had those two plays in our minds. We loosened it up a little bit. We didn't want to play total prevent and have them just throw a bunch of underneath stuff. So I think that was important. So, and also the fact that our defensive line finally was able to just pass rush now, because they didn't have to worry about any of the type of run game. So I think all that played into account.
The handcuffs were taken off, so to speak.
All that played into account. Yeah.
And again, Aiden Meyer comes up with a big play there at the end as an interception.
Yeah,
that's a 3-year starter back there.
Yeah, it was nice. Rather, and I know it was. Well, it would have been just as good at bat. No, then they would have had another play coming back and everything. It was good just to get it over with right there. And I don't think there's anything more, satisfying than having your quarterback take a knee, in the third round of the playoffs, for a big victory, and be able to get the opportunity to play, another week.
Well, Indians win the regional semifinals against a very, very good Edgewood team, 28-21, and we certainly give a lot of respect to Edgewood. That's a well-coached team and a very good team. You can see why they won 9 straight.
Good tradition, good program, good team.
And Coach, as you talk about, it's 1 week at a time, and here we are. We have the opportunity and privilege to be able to play in Week 14 in the regional finals, playing for a championship. In what is probably one of the tougher regions in the state, against Winton Woods, who has been very successful. They beat Turpin. They took down Kings and took them down early, and then certainly beat LaSalle here last week. So teams that they had played, some of them played in the regular season, and was able to get and that's tough to do. So. We're playing a very good football team on Friday.
Oh, definitely. And as you watch the film, in the early part of the season, they lost to Kings and they lost to LaSalle, and then these last 2 weeks, it's like a complete turnaround. They start off with their whole thing, 10th game of the season, going to an overtime game, against Cincinnati Loveland, and which I think they're maybe a 4-win team. So they go against Loveland, but they're a great team. I mean, when you watch the film, you see kind of why. They play great football. And so then all of a sudden they go back on that double tour again. They start off with Turpin. They beat Turpin in the regular season. They beat Turpin, again. Then, game 12, played Kings second time, beat them the second time, and then LaSalle beat them again. So we'll be their first playoff opponent that's not a league opponent for them. And that's a great, obviously it's a great league to have that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah, it certainly speaks well to the league, and it speaks well to the football that Winton Woods is playing. Talk a little bit about this team. They are certainly a different team than we have seen against Edgewood. Mm-hmm. What can the Indians expect to see on Friday night?
They're a team on offense that runs a similar type program than we do, than a lot of the teams we play, and that is they'll run a type of spread, shotgun. Their running back, the feature in their running back, and he has just come on as of late in the playoffs, averaging almost 200 yards a game. Very quick, very fast. The passing game is very solid. They don't throw the ball a whole lot, 8 to 10 times sometimes. One game they threw the ball 25 times and they were 18 for 25. So they can do it. They can do it when they need it. And then the added dimension is they have a slot receiver that pretty much does everything for them. He's their punter. He's their holder. He is their wingback type slot guy. He can go and play H for him. And he comes out this past week and scores 4 or 5 touchdowns on jet sweeps. And he's maybe averaged three carries a game. Next thing you know, this guy's going out for 250 yards on jet sweeps and scoring 5 touchdowns. So now you got an added weapon, going into that deal.
Yeah, they've got. Speaking of weapons, they have a lot of weapons, and
yeah, they do. And then when you look at the defensive side of it, they have the number 1 and number 4 quarterback sack master on both sides of their defensive ends. They have the leading interception. And their defensive back leads the league in interceptions. So they're putting together a fine crew over there on both sides of the ball.
Well, I know that when you see Winton Woods, you're seeing against a team that's fast and also has speed, but they're also skilled, a lot of skill from what the scout reports that I've been hearing.
Yes, they do, and they have what you need to be in Week 14. They have a big offensive line. And they know what they want to do. They have 3 or 4 basic plays. They dress it up as much as possible, but they have those 3 or 4 basic plays on offense. Defensively, they move around a little bit more in terms of they use a 4-man front, and then sometimes they'll use get into a 3-man front. Mostly man coverage, and special teams are solid. There's special teams. Their return guys are outstanding, and the slot that we were talking about, he's also their punter. So in any given chance, we haven't really seen anything, but every given chance, you have the possibilities of
gotta be on guard.
Yeah, got to be ready to roll.
Coach, when you look at it again, we said last week there were 16. Now there are only 8 teams left in the state of Ohio, and this sounds like a cliche, but if you're playing somebody at this point in time, everybody's good and everybody's got they're bringing something to the table as to why they're here. And Pickwa, for that matter, we're here for good reasons too. So. Should be a good game and a game where I ask you keys to the game on Friday night. We talk a lot about big plays, but I'm sure that's going to be another one.
Oh, I think big plays are going to come into play more than anything. I think as they look at film of us and we look at film of them, you see the same things. You see at least 4 times a game somebody's getting a shot out there, over 40 yards. Over 40-yard shots, and that happens with us. It happens with them, and I think both defenses have to be able to contain that as much as possible if they want to win. I think both offenses have to be able to get those shots, to get out there and get their people out in space, and get some movement and see if you make people miss out there and get some long runs or long passes.
Well, Coach, it'll certainly be a battle and an opportunity for us to play not only just a quality team, but a great team. And I know our kids and our coaches, you guys are excited to be in that opportunity to play for a regional championship.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw that they've kind of have the same history as we do in the fact that they went to the state championship game twice. They lost one time and they won one time. So we kind of share that in common also, in the same breath.
There are some parallels.
So hopefully one of us will get back there again.
Well, Coach, we certainly wish you luck, but we want to talk a little bit about, this week of our focus of our guys. We have some juniors that have really. We've talked a lot about our seniors, and we got juniors that have made some contributions. But this week's juniors in the playoffs, there have been guys in regular season, but in the playoffs they've been getting better. We talk about Ryan Brown and certainly Elijah Frazier. Those 2 guys have been weapons that you can't forget about, and then of course Brennan Johns.
Yeah, the two receivers, Frazier and Brownie, those are both of our guys that play out at the number one, and thankless sometimes a little bit because our inside receivers are a lot more busier, in what they're doing. But those guys have got open quite a bit. I know Frazier has 2 touchdowns in one playoff game. Mm-hmm. Brownie I think he went down to the 1 yard line, if I'm not mistaken, on his. So they've had some long catches. They've got free and got some stuff, especially with our play action. Those number ones out there sometimes, stalk and go on the play action and do a very good job. So I think both of those guys can catch well. I think they block. They're kind of taller, ganglier guys, and they get out there and get all wired up and wrapped up with everybody, and they're a handful for those defensive backs.
Coach, you talk about blocking, and not to digress, but it actually kind of speaks to what you're talking about is our blocking for our receivers. We talked a lot about that last year, about how important and key that is in replacing those guys. That was one of the question marks we talked at the beginning of the year is how are these new core receivers going to be with the blocking? Yeah, they've proven that they can catch some balls and make some plays, but they're also not afraid to be physical and lay blocks on people.
Yeah, and I think the best part of that is because we have such depth at receiver, it's not like that, and I know there's some teams that I've talked to coaches, and it's really a struggle to get the receivers to block, and it's even more of a struggle because they only got those 3 receivers know they're the 3 receivers. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've got about 7 of them, so your choice is to block or to block. And you're going to get some balls out there. That's the extra part of it. The linemen block. I tell them, the linemen, they block every play, and they never get a chance to catch a ball. At least you guys get opportunities to catch balls somewhere out there. And so they're out there, and they get going blocking and get all enthusiastic about it. And they got their gloves and all their wristbands on, and they got all their stuff on. And I think we're really proud of the effort that they make.
Well, we talk about Brennan Johns. There's a guy who's been he's another guy who's been a part of the program, not just as a player, but Dad's a coach. Mm-hmm. He's been on the sidelines for a long time, so he understands the rich tradition of pickle football, and now he's in the thick of it.
He is, and for our program, long snapping has always been a very successful thing. Coach Frazier works with the long snappers quite a bit, extensively, and very proud of what we've accomplished with our long snappers. And I think Brennan is just another great one in the long line of long snappers. I mean, he's been snapping since he's been a sophomore. I think he even snapped a little bit as a freshman. But he's our long snapper and our short snapper. Usually we have one of each, and then those guys back each other up on the other side. Well, since we lost Ozzie, Mason Osborne, Brennan's taken on that full group, that full load, and we're still trying to develop more long snappers as we go. But Brennan's he's come around, and he that's tough to be able to be ready to go on guard at all times when you don't play anything else. Sometimes it's easier if you're a snapper, you've been in the game, and you go out there and you're into it, you're warm, everything. But he's over in that sideline, and him and Trombo work to stay. They stay focused and do the best they can.
Well, the 2 things I'd say about Brennan, personal observation, is you can just tell as the years go on, his leadership has become even more impactful on that sideline when he's not on the field. Mm-hmm. However, when he is on the field, we talked about the punt on Friday night was a turning point. That punt had to start with someone snapping it to it before Trumbo could get it rolling.
Yeah, and more importantly, it also had to start with somebody down the ball, which normally is number 37, Johnsy. So he does a nice job of getting downfield, works at it. He wants to either down that ball or you get a dot. That's one of the major ways to get a dot on your helmet is to get down there and get a solo tackle. So he works to try to get down there and do that.
Well, certainly this group, like everyone we've talked to this week, they are impactful to this team, and everyone is making their contribution as we move forward to the regional finals.
They are. There's a great group. We're trying to stay healthy. We're trying to get everything put together. Looking forward to Wednesday. It's supposed to be 65 degrees. So looking forward to that after today's practice.
Well, yeah, it was snowing. Here we are, we're snowing, and I think I saw Brennan in a Carhartt jacket after practice. So if we're wearing Carhartts and there's snowing out there, that's a good sign that we're still playing football.
Well, Brennan forgot his I think he forgot his stuff tonight, and he went out tonight with nothing on except his shoulder pads. And I think that he's going to wear that Carhartt for probably until tomorrow morning, I would say, because he was frozen when he got
sure
in.
he's probably a little
frozen.
cold.
He could not get loose, and a couple of his snaps, were a little crackly, but he'll be all right.
I have no doubt he'll be ready to go on Friday night. And Coach, we certainly wish you guys luck as you prepare, and we wish you all the best on Friday.
Thank you.
We will be back. We're going to talk to Brownie, we're going to talk to Elijah, and we're going to talk to Brennan when we come back on the second half of the players portion of the Bill Nieces Coaches Show, brought to you by Edison State Community College and Employee Bridge. We'll be right back. Welcome to part 2 of the Bill Nieces Coaches Show. We are in the players portion, brought to you by Edison State Community College and Employee Bridge. And guys, go ahead and give us your name and the position that you play. And for this point, go ahead and the class that you're in.
My name's Ryan Brown. I'm a junior, and I play receiver.
My name's Elijah Frazier. I'm a junior, and I play receiver.
My name is Brennan Johns, class 23, and I play long snapper and middle linebacker.
All right, Brennan, I'm going to let you hold it for now. Talk a little bit about this. Has been a pretty special time. We're in week 14, and moving into week 14. Things are obviously, if we're still playing, things are good. We're playing for the regional and for a regional championship against Winton Woods. What's it like been for you as a player to be part of this experience? The whole thing, not just this past week, but just the whole season itself.
There's nothing better. It's been around these guys my whole life, and their group ahead of us. Watching them grow and evolve into a championship team is something special.
Brennan, I'm gonna ask you to hold it for a little bit, because you've got a little more unique position, because you're like some of these guys in the locker room. You've been around the program for a long time.
Yeah.
Your dad's a coach, and so you've been on the sidelines since you've been young. So you've seen pickle football for a long time, and you've always dreamed about being a football player, and now you're in that spot. So what is it like for you personally on that level?
Yeah, the amount of guys I've watched play and go to college for being so good. It's crazy that I'm in their shoes now, and possibly to fill in the spots of being the next state championships.
Yeah, well, very good. Elijah, I'm going to let you take it from here. What's it been like for you to be a part of this whole experience?
Man, this has been amazing, because ever since we were in 3rd grade, we've all been working together, even the grade ahead of us, because we've always been scrimmaging to get better and stuff as a team. So just now seeing how far we've came together and just winning as everything we've planned on is just awesome. I just feel special.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Brown, your thoughts? Same thing.
Just growing up from 3rd grade, watching, going to all the football games, I just always wanted to do that. And now since I'm here, it's special. Having the whole town behind me and all of us is special to me.
Hey, you can't describe it unless you're in it, and you guys work hard for this every year, but you never know where the chips are going to lie. And you guys are now been in points where you've been at key points in games where you've been in it yourself. You're playing in made key plays, and we talk about that. I'm thinking about the Little Miami game in the tournament, or the opening round of the playoffs. You guys have big contributions, and so you're not just standing on the sideline, you're making contributions. So that's got to make you feel good.
It does. It really does.
Yeah. So all right. So we're the show that we've taught. It's always been week to week, and Coach always talks about we're not looking ahead, and so keeping in mind, and this is as we reflect, and it's been a good ride so far. We are in the week. It's Winton Woods, and so for you, what do we got to do? Not so much about Winton Woods, but what do we have to do to continue to do to move forward?
I think we just got to continue to play great like we've been the past weeks, and just keep Winton Woods in our mind and don't worry about anything else.
All right, that's good. How about you, Elijah? What do you got on that one?
I feel the same thing as Brownie says. We just need to focus week by week and just worry about it. It's okay to have a thought of the state championship, but just focusing week on week, it just gets us where we need to go.
Yeah, the task on hand. Mr. Johns?
I think we should not take this for granted. I think we need to play the hardest we've ever played, like it's the last game, last practice, or for the seniors is mainly what we're doing this for, and that's all I got.
Well, you're doing it for everybody too. I think you guys have been a big part of this team. I think that's a nice thing that this whole group is. You got good chemistry. You got a good senior group. You got obviously a good junior group, but you've also got some sophomores that's been contributing. So you've got there's a good team chemistry amongst yourselves. And the fact that you're wearing a winter coat and it's snowing outside, that means it's good stuff if we're still playing.
Yeah.
Last question before we wrap this up. You guys obviously are in a position where you're going to be able to come back next year, and the other guys that we've talked to as juniors are, they started talking about playing for the seniors. But for you guys, this experience has to be invaluable for you guys. So when you guys become seniors, this is going to help you not just be better football players, but better leaders. Mm-hmm. Brennan?
Yeah, it's a key point. Being a kind of a big brother to like the younger classes, and sometimes freshmen, if they get lucky enough to get pulled up, or if they're good enough, you got to set a good example for them and keep your mind on the other younger guys.
Elijah, a little bit about those younger guys too, because now you're juniors, you're an upperclassmen, so to speak, and those sophomores and even the freshmen, their eyes are watching you.
Definitely, I definitely think like being a role model to the younger kids is always a good thing, because it helped me out as being a wide receiver, and having like even last year's seniors, they helped me out become better as a person and even better as a person on the football field, which is always hope.
Yeah, certainly. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I always last year looked up to Blaine Wool and Garrett Shrub, and they always just persuaded me to be a better football player, which I hope I do that for the younger class.
Well, and let us not say, and we've said the last couple of weeks, that's a good segue, Brownie, and that is this group. We've talked about Blaine Newell and Jarrell Lewis and some of those other guys from that class that graduated. They were a big part of this team and helping the leadership in the locker room, and so we're grateful for them, and it's one of those things, like you say, you pass it down. Gentlemen, we wish you luck in your preparations this week, and then also certainly on Friday night.
Thank you.
A little different here. We've been telling you, we've been spoiled. Indian Nation Station has been airing it live. Unfortunately, we will not be able to air it live. However, the good news is Indian Nation Station will carry it. However, it will be on delay. Our intention is to have it right after the game, around 10 o'clock, on the Indian Station YouTube channel. It'll also be on Spectrum later on in the weekend. However, if you do want to watch it live, Spectrum will have the option to get it live. You can buy it for $9.99. There will be a link on the Twitter page and the Piqua City Schools social media pages that you can click on and get those things so you can buy that game. It will be 7 p.m. at Northmont. Piqua will take on Winton Woods for the Region 8 Championship, and we certainly look forward to what will be a great contest. For our good people here, Brennan and Elijah and Brownie, we will see you next week. Have a good week.